Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Time Bible Study. We are glad to be here. Welcome, Larry, to our Bible study this morning. We're glad you're here.
Morning.
Morning.
Glad to be here.
We are on Jacob on part 3. Last week, we kind of got past his deceitful nature. Welcome, Kaylee, as well.
Thanks.
I'm just like, hey, Larry, how you doing? Welcome, Zoom. Welcome, Sister Season. Last week, we talked about Jacob's deceitful nature and what he went through when he went over to see Laban, his uncle, and his surrendering to fully to God. We read about Jacob's fight and struggle with God. We read that in Genesis 32, 22 through 32, how he wrestled with God all night. And we also read how, because of his transformation, Jacob decided to have a different approach when it came to his brother, which was not to repay evil with evil. And we read that in 1 Peter chapter 3, 8 through 12. But it's worth reading again because it really is important that we understand and are able to grasp this important concept, which is, so we're going to turn to 1 Peter chapter 3, 8 through 12. And finally, it says, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate, and humble. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called so that you may inherit a blessing. For whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. And this is what Jacob decided when he was fighting with the Lord, when he was by himself, and sent his family ahead of himself. He had devised a strategy to, he heard Esau had 400 men with him. So he was devising a strategy, but then when he fought with God and he spent that time with God, he had a different approach. He had, let me go about this differently. Let's not think of this as a battle. Let's not go in this as a war. Let's go in there with, I'm giving you these blessings. I'm giving you this property. I'm giving you, access to my family. And I just thought it was beautiful. Larry, did you want to add anything to that part of it?
No, I'm just listening to what you're saying. I went over to Psalm 34 just to see, because Peter is making use of 3 verses in Psalm 34. And there's a lot of kind of points to the Messiah a little bit there. And then it's interesting, though, it ends by saying that the Lord redeems the life of his servants, and none of those who take refuge in him will be condemned. So it's interesting that, Peter's using that language in his letter. And there's a call here to suffer for righteousness' sake. That's like the heading of my section. But if you read through that whole psalm, there's great promise in there that God is indeed the one who will keep us and save us and means well for us. But we come to him with a broken heart, and the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit, it says, which is reminiscent of what Jacob was going through even even in his wrestling with God. But
Yeah. He was.
in addition to that at all, I was just pondering as you were saying that. So
Yeah, I love that because he was really fighting against that whole surrendering as he was fighting with God that all night, as we do ourselves. We find ourselves doing that over and over. That's why we have to die to flesh every single day. It's, some days are easier than others. Other days things pop up, and the next thing you know, we're distracted by something that might be so simple as a new series coming on TV, and the next thing you know, we're engrossed in a 10-part series, and we haven't touched our Bible in days, and our spirit feels that for sure, and brings us back. Thank God. At the end of the Bible study, we stopped at the 12 tribes of Israel. So I'm so glad that you're on today, Larry. God is so good. He's intentional. He knows what he's doing. And I love that we're going to be talking about these 12 tribes and what their Jacob's prophecy for these 12 tribes and what they went, did these prophecies come true or did they not? What exactly happened with these 12 tribes and how important these 12 tribes are to God. We see over and over referencing these 12 tribes of Israel, all the way from Genesis to Revelations. So I love that we're getting into that as part of Jacob, so that we can move into Joseph next week. So let's get into it. These 12 tribes of Israel were so important to God because this was his covenant. Through them would become the Messiah. God's promise was that he was going to make a great nation from the descendants of Abraham. I was thinking Abraham and Abriel come out. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we read that in each of their stories. These tribes were important because they were given instructions from God. They received the promised land as an inheritance, and they were tribes to go spread the word of God. We can trace their genealogy of the tribe of Judah back to the Savior Jesus Christ, and the number 12 symbolizes completeness and divine order. And Jesus chose the 12 tribes' jewels to be put on the breastplate of the high priest to remind the priests to remember these tribes when he was making the decisions. And there were 12 apostles chosen by Jesus to rebuild, to represent the renewed Israel. And 12 is so important to God that in Revelation, there's 12 gates are named for the 12 tribes of Israel. Mostly it shows God's faithfulness to his covenant of his plan for the Old Testament through the New Testament, staying steadfast and unchanging to his promise all the way to the 12 gates in Jerusalem and Revelation, the bride of the Lamb. And we're going to read that Revelations 21, 9 through 27. Kaylee, if you could read that for me, or Larry, either one, I'd appreciate it.
Yep. Can you repeat that again, though?
Revelations 21, 9 through 27. We're going to read what he says, what Revelation says about the gates on the New Jerusalem.
Okay. Revelation 21, 9.
21, 9 through 27.
Yep. On one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." And he carried me away in the spirit to a mountain great and high, and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. It shone with the glory of God, and its brilliance was like that of a very precious jewel, like a jasper, clear as crystal. It had a great high wall with 12 gates, and with 12 angels at the gates. On the gates were written the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. There were 3 gates on the east, 3 on the north, 3 on the south, and 3 on the west. The wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb.
Stop there for just a minute, because I want to make a point here. This is what we read in Genesis 28:14. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. This was the prophecy. So then it also tells us in Revelations what we just read, that the 3 gates, there will be 3 gates on the east, 3 on the north, 3 on the south, and 3 on the west. Okay, keep going with 14.
The angel who talked with me had a measuring rod of gold to measure the city, its gates and its walls. The city was laid out like a square, as long as it was wide. He measured the city with the rod and found it to be 12,000 stadia in length, and as wide and high as it was long. The angel measured the wall using human measurement, and it was 144 cubits thick. The wall was made of jasper, and the city of pure gold, as pure as glass. The foundations of the city walls were decorated with every kind of precious stone. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third agate, the fourth emerald, the fifth onyx, the sixth ruby, the seventh chrysolite, and the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th turquoise, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. The 12 gates.
Okay, stop there for a minute, Kaylee. So in Ezekiel 43, it says, he took me there, and I saw a man whose appearance was like bronze. He was standing in the gateway with a linen cord and a measuring rod in his hand. It reminded me of the bronze altar for people's offering, while the gold offering was for God, the high priest, directly to God. So when we read in Revelations 21:16 and 17, I want to go to those measurements. I looked up 12,000 stadia in length, as wide as it is high. So it's 30 stadia is approximately 40 miles, 4 miles, sorry. So 30 stadia. So 12,000 divided by 30 is 400, times 4 miles is 1,600 miles long. That's amazing. 16 miles wide and 1,600 miles long, 1,600 miles wide, and 1,600 miles high. Huge. Let that sink in a minute. That's huge. Mm-hmm. And the angel measured the wall using human measurements, and it was 144 cubits thick. And I thought that number 144, we know, is the 144,000 that's going to be sealed. It's just interesting. 1 cubit equals 1.5 feet. So 144 times 1.5 is 216 feet thick. Like, it's so big and it's so massive and the walls are so thick. It's incredible. And I just thought the 104 represents the 12 tribes times the 12 apostles is 144 as well. So I just found those things interesting. And when I went on in Revelations 21 and it read the first foundation was jasper, I thought, well, let me look up and see how this relates to the 12 tribes, right? Well, Benjamin is Jasper. Then, okay, let's look at the other ones. There's Brother Stedman. Good morning, Brother Stedman.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry for my tardiness.
It's all right. Glad you're here. We are in Revelations 21, 18 through 27. So the first foundation was Jasper, Benjamin. The second was Sapphire, and that's Ishar. And if I have any of these wrong, I apologize, because there was a few that there was discretions over. But the point is, each one of those foundations had a emerald, had a jewel, which correlated to the 12 tribes.
Is it in the Old Testament? Is there like a correlation between each tribe and each jewel? Is that where you found that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious to where it's at, but
yeah. The emerald is related to Levi, the onyx is Joseph, and the ruby is Reuben. The crystallite is Zebulun, and the 8th beryl is Asher, and the 9th is which is topaz, is Simon, and the 10th Judah, or turquoise, Judah. 11th Japheth, Dan, and the 12th amethyst. The breastplate had these jewels on them, right? And they were named. These different jewels were named. So I just tied it into Revelations 21 that indeed it's referring to the 12 tribes of Israel. Go ahead, Brother Stedman.
That's found in Exodus 28.
okay.
Starting at 15, going to 30 actually.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool to go back and study though. It's sweet.
Well, I mean, we can read that.
Yeah, I'm about to say I can read it real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, because I had it referenced in 28, those same things. So go ahead and read that, Brother Stedman.
This is Exodus chapter 28, 15. It says, fashion of breastplate for making decisions. The work of skilled craftsmen, make it like an ephod of gold and of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen. It's to be square.
Stop right there for a second, Brother Stedman. You know I apologize for interrupting you. That ephod is his apron.
Right.
Okay. And it's sorry. It says it is to be squared, a span long and a span wide, and folded double. Then mount 4 rows of precious stones on it. In the first row, there shall be a ruby, topaz, and a beryl, B-E-R-Y-L. In the second row, turquoise, sapphire, and emerald. In the third row, jacket, agate, and amethyst. And in the fourth row, it goes on, it says onyx and jasper. It says mount them in the gold fingy settings. There are to be 12 stones, one for each name of the sons of Israel. Each engraved like a seal with the name of one of the 12 tribes.
Amen. That's it right there.
Yeah, so I don't think there's no reason to think that it's not literal, but it's definitely symbolic too. In Revelation 21, I mean, it's full of symbolism, right? Like you're talking about these numbers, this squaring of 12. It's like a number of completion. God has brought in His complete people, right? And that's what I mean. Even the New Jerusalem, sure, it's a real city. But it says that she comes down out of heaven prepared as a bride for her groom, right? And so this is the people of God. This is the eternal people of God, the complete, the complete redeemed here that we're dealing with. And so it's representative of or the 12 tribes represent that, the completion, the true like final 12. Final 12 tribes. I also find it interesting that in the New Jerusalem, it says one of the 7 angels that had one of the 7 bowls of wrath presents the bride, right? He's like, come and I will show you the bride. You go back to Revelation 17 and it says that one of the angels that held one of the bowls of wrath says, "Let me show you the prostitute," right? The harlot, the one who was my wife, right? But God, I mean, you don't call someone a harlot if you weren't wed to them at one point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like these are the people that assume that they were the people of God or whatever. And I've got some personal interpretation of the Book of Revelation, anyways, and I won't bring that into this. But what you're seeing there is the replacement of the harlot.
Yes.
With the true bride, the true one, right?
Yeah.
So even in that Revelation 17, it's like the harlot was decked out in pearls and stones and beautiful colors and all of these things. And then now you have this new bride comes in, and it's like a city, fortified, foundations, 12 jewels on each of its gate, right? 12 gates.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. It's like you just see the almost like the replacement of the false with the true, you know?
Yeah. Yep, exactly right. So starting 20, let's see, where were you, Kaylee? I think
22.
Okay.
I did not see a temple in the city, because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives its light, and the Lamb is its lamp. The nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into it. On no day will its gates ever be shut, for there will be no night there. The glory and honor of the nations will be brought into it. Nothing impure will ever enter it, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life.
So you see how important those 12 tribes of Israel are, why he keeps referencing why the fight for Jacob was so important to clean up his deceitful heart and his wicked ways. Nothing impure will ever enter, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful, but only those whose names are written in the book of life. So it's important that we understand that for ourselves. And the battle, if we're battling, it's important that we understand why we're battling, so we can stop battling with God, so we can put those battles to the side and do like Jacob did. If you've got to fight all night long to get through whatever you need to get through to clean up your heart, you need to do that. And you need to face that battle. So again, go ahead.
Just to add real quick, I think there's, it's like, I think of like assurance and security when it comes to salvation and sanctification, how we're working those things out, right? Working out your salvation with fear and trembling, right? Why? Because it is God who works in you to do and to will for his good pleasure. I find there to be a great security in knowing that those who have entered into this new Jerusalem, this eternal city, eternity, heaven, whatever you want to call it, are those who have been written in the Lamb's book of life, right? In the Lamb's book of life, it's the Lamb who was slain from the foundation of the world, right? So like, this is an old, ancient book. It is very much sealed up. And our names are found written in it, based on the merits of the Lamb. Right. And yet there's a great there can be great assurance in knowing we're in this book, I think, which is where the warnings come in. The warnings are like, sure, you're getting in because you're written in the Lamb's book of life. Okay. Yeah. At the end of Jude, it says, to him who is able to keep you from stumbling and to present you blameless before the presence of his glory with great joy. Right. So it's God who is bringing us in and declaring us righteous and all this stuff. And yet there's warnings, because the Christian life is a walk, right? And even knowing that in this eternal city, you flip over another chapter and it says we're outside, whatever that means, okay? Right. We've already seen the lake of fire. We know there's this outer darkness thing. And yet even in eternity, as this city exists forever and these people exist forever in the presence of God, there's no need for the sun just grace upon grace upon grace forever, constantly learning more about him and growing in grace and love, there's still an outside. It says where the dogs are and the sorcerers and the evildoers, right? So what great motivation to not acquaint ourselves with evil than to know that even throughout all of eternity, there's this picture of a city that is found in the Lamb, and then outside of it are those who have done evil. I think even continue to do evil, realistically. I think if we grow from grace to grace in the ages to come, inside the gate, inside of heaven, I think those that are outside of the grace of God will grow in their depravity for all of eternity. So when it says outside are the dogs and the sorcerers and all of that, you can't even comprehend the state of wickedness that will become those 10,000 ages from the judgment. You know what I mean? It is. So again, so we look to that and we go, I certainly don't want to acquaint myself with that, you know?
Yeah, right. And I think that some of that is talking about, because you've got heaven, you've got what we're doing here on earth. Let's just use the tabernacle for instance, is an example of the new heaven, what's taken place in heaven, right? I think a lot of that description is going on with here on earth, the wickedness, the dog feeding, like you were saying, is here happening now here on earth as we are getting to the New Jerusalem. Because I believe that once the earth is destroyed, as it tells us in Revelations, and the new heaven comes down, I haven't studied it enough, but I think everything else is wiped out. There's no more sin. There's no more evil. There's no more wickedness. But it goes, well, why did we need these thick walls? So it's an area that I really haven't studied deep in. So I can't say for sure, but I believe that he's going to come down. He's going to wipe out everything, and we're going to have a new earth and a new heaven, and we're going to be able to walk with him without fear, without concern of what's on the other side of any wall, because And
I was just saying, like, looking at eternity in this way. I think it's symbolic as well. I don't think that you can't. Otherwise, how do you harmonize everyone whose name has not been written in the Lamb's Book of Life being thrown into the lake of fire? And 2 chapters later, or a chapter and a half later, those same people who should be judged in a lake of fire are now just outside of a gate. And the kings are bringing in the glory of the nations and all of that. So again, some of it is obviously symbolic, you know? So, I think the capacity and presence for sin is done in eternity.
Yes,
definitely. So
yes,
but
we can agree on that for sure. Yeah. Sin is done. Yeah. That's what the battle has all been about. So, the darkness, the wickedness, I think that's all gone at that point. We're not. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Good. There's no more death, no more pain, no more tears. He's done away with all those things in the new heaven. Exactly. The new heaven and the new earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we don't know all the understanding of what God is telling us. We're only opening, more and more to, Daniel 12 giving us more information, Revelation giving us more information. We can't assume we know exactly what everything means and says, because it's not meant for us to know everything yet. Just like with the disciple, he's going to open our minds when we are ready to understand it. And when we are ready to understand it, then he will open our minds to the things that we need to understand. So praise God that he has a plan that he has had from the very beginning, and he knows exactly what is to take place, and we don't have to worry about any of that except to get our life right and on the right track. And this is what Jacob did in his story. He was willing to fight that battle and get through that battle to overcome what he needed to overcome, which was his deceitfulness, his lying, his evil heart, and find a different solution, like we read in First Peter. Not replace evil with evil, but to give a blessing instead of evil. So what we do, it matters. Mm-hmm. And like you said, what matters is what's written in the book of life. Are we written in the book of life or not? That's what matters. And if you don't know that you are, then you need to reach out to someone that can help you through that, someone that can walk you through what that means. Mm-hmm. And our salvation is so important. We can't overlook that. We talk about the New Jerusalem and what that looks like, and how the tabernacle, it looks like heaven. Well, he gave specific instructions on that tabernacle and what that tabernacle was exactly going to be looked at and how it was going to be constructed so that it resembled exactly what was going on in heaven. But we can see what's going on in heaven with the New Jerusalem. The magnitude of these measurements are beyond the tabernacle, because the tabernacle wasn't 1,600 miles wide or high or long.
Right.
But it is like here on earth, it is like that little project that Pastor Derek has that shows the tabernacle. It is an example of it, not to the same degree. It's just like, I can't think of the word, but it's a display of it. But
diagram. Diagram. Is that the word you're thinking of?
Yes, thank you. But what he's doing in heaven with getting ready for the New Jerusalem is just, when you look at those measurements, I found them something to talk about. And the jewels that are on, how he's got the foundations built up in these different foundations, how he valued those 12 tribes of Israel, how he really created those and gave that prophecy because he had a plan for each one of those tribes. And that's what we're going to get into, is those 12 tribes of Israel, and what was the prophecy, and what did they do what the prophecy said they were going to do. So let's first go to the sons, who their mother was. So the sons of Leah, which was his first wife, the one that Laban tricked Jacob with, is Reuben was the firstborn of Jacob, and then Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun was Leah's sons. Then Rachel's son was Joseph, who we're going to get into next week, and Benjamin. And we know that Jacob loved Joseph. The sons of Rachel's servant Bilhah was Dan and Naphtali, and the sons of Leah's servant was Gad and Asher. And God spoke to Jacob in a vision at night. And Brother Stedman, can you read for me Genesis 46, 1 through 4 on that vision that Jacob received?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So Israel set out with all that was his. And when he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. I am God, the God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back. And Joseph's own hand will close, I'm sorry, and Joseph's own hand would close your eyes.
Stop there. That's God's promise to Jacob that he would see Joseph before he dies. And that goes into our story for next week. And he tells them right here, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes, meaning he will be there at your death.
Right.
So Jacob, he knew this. He was told this by God. So we know the story. We'll get into it next week, where he was all concerned about Joseph and that his son died. I'm sure he went back to this very time and said, but I was promised. In his mind, he was going over and over, I was promised by God, I was told by God that he would be here in my death. And then we know that it did come true. Jacob lived to be 147 years old, and we can read that in Genesis 47:28. And these were his blessing, his prophetic words to his sons inspired by God. Did they come true? Were they fulfilled? These prophecies of the future of the tribes, these 12 tribes of Israel. And that's what we're going to get into for the rest of our study today. We're going to turn to Genesis 49 and read 1 through 4. Kaylee, if you could read that for us.
Then Jacob called for his sons and said, gather around so I can tell you what will happen to you in days to come. Assemble and listen, sons of Jacob. Listen to your father Israel. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the first sign of my strength. Excelling in honor, excelling in power. Turbulent as the waters, you will no longer excel. For you went up onto your father's bed, onto my couch, and defiled it.
So Reuben lost his role as the firstborn, his instability in Genesis 35:22. While Israel was living, you're on mute. We can't hear you, Brother Stedman. Oh, okay. While Israel was living in that region, Reuben went in and slept with his father's concubine, Bilhah, and Israel heard of it. So Reuben was part of the northern kingdom, and this prophecy came true as tribe of Reuben lived away from the other tribes on the other side of the Jordan. So he had very little influence with his brothers. The kingdom was given to Judah, and the priesthood was given to Levi. There were no judges, no prophets, no rulers or prince that came from the tribe of Reuben. However, there was 2 people known from this tribe that rebelled against Moses, and that was Dathan and Abiram. So this prophecy that the first one pertaining to Reuben that Jacob said came true. Now let's go to Genesis 49, 5 through 7. Brother Stedman, if you can read on Simon and Levi.
Yes, ma'am. 5 through 7. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their swords are weapons of violence. Let me not enter their council. Let me not join their assembly. For they have killed unalive men in their anger, and hamstrung oxen as they please. Cursed be their anger, so fierce, and their fury so cruel. I will scatter them in Jacob and disperse them in Israel.
So that's what the Father says to them. This is the prophecy he was given from God. Simon and Levi's characteristics was a violent angry people and resulted in their scattering among the other tribes, particularly the Levites who received no land inheritance. Simeon was a small tribe and absorbed into the tribe of Judah, and Levi was scattered serving as priests, serving different cities. Notable people of the tribe was Moses, Aaron, Miriam, Samuel, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Ezra, and Malachi. The brothers avenged their sister Dinah by unaliving the males of Shechem. And we can read that in Genesis 34, 24 through 30. Their weapons were not for defense, but for violence. Lessons to learn from Simeon and Levi: anger is a lack of self-control, and we should not take counsel from an angry person. The tribes of Simeon and Levi were scattered throughout Israel, but because of the grace of God and their loyalty to God, the tribe of Levi became the tribe of priests. And we just went through that a little bit with the teens last night on them building that golden calf and idolizing them, all the different people. And only the tribe of Levites came over to Moses, and that's why they became the priests. So that what Jacob had told them came true. So another one came true. Now we're going to go to Genesis 49, 8 through 12. Kaylee, can you read that for us?
Yep. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's son will bow down to you. You are a lion's cub, Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down, like a lioness who dares to rouse him. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. He will tether his donkey to a vine, his colt to the choicest branch. He will wash his garments in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk.
Okay. Now you guys can speak up anytime on any of these. So, or if you got anything to put in, that's fine with me. Don't worry about it. Judah became the leader and producing the royal line of David and eventually Jesus Christ. So the scepter would not leave until the time of the Messiah. The kings came from the line of Judah. From David to King Zedekiah, the last king of Judah, the tribe of Judah ruled. As it says in Genesis 49:10, the scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and obedience of the nations shall be his. That's Jesus Christ. Yeah. That's the Messiah. The prophecy came true. Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. And we read that in Revelations 5:5. So this prophecy with Judah came true. Go ahead.
Luke 1, where you have it's prophetic of when Jesus came. So there's that song there in Luke 1, the prophecy and that whole the scene of his birth. And I think it's like Luke 1:30 something. It says that the speaking of the newborn Jesus, that his the scepter will not depart from Judah. You could go find it if you want, but anyway, yeah, it's
yeah, that's fine. Let's find it. It goes along with our, but yes, this prophecy that he was given Judah came true. This proves that Jacob was a prophet because he was given these prophecies from God. This is the points that we're proving, that he was not a false prophet. He was a prophet, and he received these dreams and these visions and these confirmations from God.
Yeah, and this was the angel to Mary. And he says in verse 30, do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. Behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give to him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Judah forever. And of his kingdom there will be no end, which is also a quotation of like Daniel 7, right? So you get that whole scene of him coming up to the Ancient of Days and being given all dominion and glory. It's interesting because it like starts here, starts right in the manger. We sing a song that says, what's it called? He came upon a manger throne or something. It's just an incredible worship song that we sing at church about like how this manger was like held this king that comes and and then you have these nations that come from the east and they present him gifts and they worship him. It's like these pagans from a faraway nation come. They know the prophecy. They were likely descendants of Babylon, right? So like Daniel is sent to Babylon. He brings with him all of the knowledge and the oracles and all of that stuff. And then what Daniel will set up over there, all their wise men, their magi. And then here you have magi come and worship him because they know that this one who's sitting in this little manger here they likely came when he was a little boy, but they know that he is the one who holds this eternal scepter.
Yep.
Super, just crazy to think that the first people that come and worship him, even as a young child, are probably ancient ancestors of Babylon or something. Just these pagans come in, and magicians and star readers and stuff, and they submit to him as king. It's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And these prophecies it's so important to understand that these prophecies were given by God. They were given to God's chosen people, is so that they were always pointing to the Messiah in the Old Testament. Everything, it all points to the Messiah. And as we see, even Jacob's prophecy here is pointing to the Messiah. He didn't have any information or any knowledge about the Messiah, but these prophecies all pointed to the Messiah coming. They only knew what God had told them.
Right, and then look at what else it says. Right, he'll bind his foal to the vine. This I just got a King James, but he'll tie up his colt on a choice vine. It says he'll wash his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. I mean, what is that talking about? Right? What do we see at the end of Revelation 19? When this one who comes, and what does he do? He treads the winepress of the wrath, right? And it's like a wine press, right? So it's like he's treading on fresh grapes and creating wine. And then it says the blood goes out and fills the streets all the way up to the mouthpieces of horses. It's so deep, and consequently his robe is dyed with it, right? So I mean, this just encompasses like everything, like his coming, his reign, his return, his every, he's every aspect of his rule and reign. In this prophecy right here.
Yep. And he's trying to harmonize the Bible, the whole Bible, from these 12 tribes all the way through the New Jerusalem. He's using them, showing us how important these 12 tribes of Israel were and these prophecies were. So we're just getting into a little bit of it. There's so much that you can go back and study each one of these prophecies, each one of these sons of Jacob and the 12 tribes. You can go back and really dig deep. We're just trying to give you an overview and touch on some important pieces. But as always, I always encourage you to go back and study for yourself. It's so important. We're going to move on to Zebulun. And that's in Genesis 49:13. Zebulun will live by the seashore and become a haven for ships. His border will extend towards Sidon. This tribe occupied territory between the Mediterranean Sea and the Sea of Galilee in northern Israel. This area was the first to hear Christ's preaching, and this tribe helped in battles led by Deborah and Barak, and they fought with them, and you can read that in Judges chapter 4 verse 6 and Judges 5:18. The Zebulun also helped transfer the kingdom from King Saul to King David, and I thought that was so important that they occupied this area. They were warriors. They fought in battles. They helped transfer the kingdom from Saul to David. They were God's chosen people. In 1 Chronicles 12:33, it says, from Zebulun, experienced soldiers prepared for battle with every type of weapon to help David with undivided loyalty. 50,000 men helped do that transformation. We're going to read now in Genesis 49:14 through 15. Brother Stenman, if you could read Ishar.
Good. Issachar is a raw-boned donkey laying down between two saddlebags. When he sees how good is his resting place and how pleasant is his land, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and submit to the forced labor.
So Ishar received, because remember, the promised land was divided up into these by lot. They divided this land by lot, but it wasn't by chance. We know that these things were given by God, this lot. They pulled it out and they might have distributed according to the lot, but we know God was in full control of that lot because he knew exactly where he was placing all of these tribes when he placed them. So Ishar received the fertile Jezreel Valley in the promised land, confirming the pleasant land in Jacob's blessing and prophecy. This was a major trading route. Therefore, as the blessing indicates, they had to bow to foreigners working as laborers in their own land. They were part of the northern kingdom. So again, this prophecy came true. In 1 Chronicles 12:32, it says, from Ishar, men who understood the times and knew what Israel should do. There was 200 chiefs with all their relatives under their command. We're going to move to Dan now. Genesis 49:16 through 18. Dan will provide justice for his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be a snake by a roadside, a viper along the path that bites the horse's heels so that its rider tumbles backward. I look for your deliverance, Lord. Can you imagine? Your father's on his deathbed. He's giving all these different blessings and prophecies, and you're called the snake, lazy. You'll be you'll be forced to labor. You imagine walking away from that type of conversation. You're going to be a viper along the path that bites horses' heels. Father, what does that mean? And then here we got Samson was a member of the Dan tribe, and he judged Israel for 20 years. Samson's tactics against the Philistines are an example of biting the horse's heel. In Judges 18, the tribe of Dan established a center for false religion and idolatry, and a golden calf was set up in Dan causing this kingdom to sin. The tribe of Dan is not on the list of tribes in Revelation 7. This tribe vanished in history and was no longer a tribe on its own. The tribe of Dan was given fertile land by a lot. However, they were never able to fully conquer the areas due to their lack of faith. The people of Dan fell into idolatry. They did not like their land. They grumbled. The tribe of Dan took things into their own hands rather than following God's instructions. And unfortunately, the man-made worship at Dan has been its lasting legacy. They followed man's ways, not God's ways, and eventually the tribe of Dan disappeared into the other tribes. Oholiab, a skilled craftsman, was appointed by God to help build the tabernacle. He was one important person that came out of the tribe of Dan. In Judges 21:25, it says, "In those days there were no kings in Israel. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes." This was the problem. We're going to move on to Gad. Genesis 49:19. Gad will be attacked by a band of raiders, but he will attack them at their heels. And the tribe of Gad settled east of the Jordan River and faced frequent attacks. They often fought well against their neighbors and had victories of these wars. They stood for steadfast faith and military power, another one of the lost tribes. They ended up being absorbed into the other tribes. In Genesis 49:20, it reads, "Asher's food will be rich. He will provide delicacies fit for a king." And this tribe of Asher received territory rich for agriculture. Key person from tribe was Anna, who recognized Jesus as a baby in the temple. And Asher received land along the Mediterranean coast. They did, however, fail to drive out the Canaanites, so they lived amongst them. That we read in Genesis chapter 1, 31 through 32. They did not join in the battle in Judges with Deborah and Barak. They stayed in their coves. We read that in Judges 5:17. This could indicate a lack of trusting in God's plan. In 2 Chronicles 30:11, they accepted the invitation of Hezekiah to join the Passover celebration in Jerusalem. And this was considered an act of humility, proof of a contrite heart before God. You get the indication that they were a wavering nation. So they did some things good and they did some things wavering. And Naphtali in 49:21, Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. The tribe of Naphtali settled in the northern Galilee region on fertile lands, and the key people from this tribe was Deborah and Barak. They failed to obey God's command to drive out the Canaanites, so they too lived amongst the Canaanites. This tribe did provide 1,000 officers and 37,000 men with a caravan of food to help David assume the throne. So each one of these tribes were important to God's plan. They might have fought it, but they were important to the plan. Kaylee, can you read Genesis 49:22 through 26? We're
Joseph.
almost done.
Joseph is a fruitful vine near a spring, whose branches climb over a wall. With bitterness, arches attacked him. Okay, with bitterness, archers attacked him. They shot at him with hostility, but this bow remained steady. His strong arms stayed limber because of the hand of the mighty one of Jacob, because of the shepherd, the rock of Israel, because of your father's God who helps you. because of the Almighty who blesses you with blessings of the skies above, blessings of the deep springs below, blessings of the breast and womb. Your father's blessings are greater than the blessings of the ancient mountains. Then the bounty of the age-old hills, let all these rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince among his brothers.
So Joseph, Ephron, and Manasseh received a double portion, the birthright, and were blessed with great prosperity. We will study more about Joseph next week. 49, Genesis 49:27. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he devours the prey. In the evening he devours the plunder. The tribe of Benjamin was known for their bravery and fierce character. The tribe settled in a central location between the northern tribes and Judah, often involved in many conflicts. People that came from the tribe of Benjamin were Ehud, a great warrior who delivered Israel from Moab, and Saul, who becomes the first king of Israel. Esther and Paul came from this tribe, the tribe of Benjamin. Moses also blessed these tribes, and we can read that in Deuteronomy 33. I suggest you go back and read that for yourself. Moses was preaching to the congregation while Jacob was speaking to his sons, divinely inspired by God. So these tribes are so important to God that he built each foundation upon them. He had these jewels and he had this plan, and it involved these 12 tribes of Israel all the way from Genesis to Revelations, as we read. Do you guys have anything more that you want to add to this Bible study? Larry, Brother Stedman, Sister Kaylee?
I'm jumping all around with you.
I was watching both of the guys have their heads down in the Bible, and you and me are just watching each other and reading.
Well, it's so interesting, I think, when we start tying it in, how it harmonizes all the way through the Bible. It starts putting things together. But go ahead, Brother Stedman.
No, it's just very interesting in like the names that you're bringing up, just how everything was tied in. And even when we talk about Revelation, it's just very interesting. So I'm just flipping through, like going through and see all the names and all the things that kind of correlate with each other. So yeah, it's something to really kind of sit and.
What's really cool too is if you look at the Hebrew names, like all of these names come directly from Hebrew, right? So they're just transliterations. Yep. If you look at like the meanings of some of them, like I've done this before, right? So like Dan does mean judge. That's the word judge in Hebrew, right? So it's kind of cool how like their names were, you were going through these names and I'm like, and then you were like cross-referencing like what they, where the prophecy was fulfilled. Right. I was like 7. I was like trying to follow it, and then before I know it, we're like at Gad all of a sudden, and then we're at Asher all of a sudden, and then we're at Naphtali all of a sudden. So I was just trying to kind of keep up, and my instinct is to like go into each one of these and make it an hour long study. But
yes.
Yeah, so yes, it is.
We could have done that.
Like, how like each of their names, a lot of them, I should say, because some of them don't have like a direct correlation to the prophecy, but a lot of their names have a direct correlation. Like even Benjamin, like we named our son Benjamin. It means son of the right hand, or son of strength, or son of power, right? Mm-hmm. And then Benjamin's this one that goes out and devours, right? And even as you were reading your notes, he is the one that went out and conquered and fought, and he was known for his valor and strength and all of that. So
yeah, unfortunately, listening to Dan, going, because we have a Daniel too,
which means Daniel means God is my judge. So I remind him of that on the daily. But
yeah, but then I'm looking at it going, maybe it was Dan, and then we just
chill.
So
yeah, I agree with you. I could have went on and did part 4. I tried to keep it so that we stay in part 3 of Jacob. But there is so much in Jacob's story and so much depth to Jacob's story, just his walk with God, his fight with God, his life before God and his life after God. And then you have his 12 sons and those becoming the tribe of Israel. There's so much there. You could spend 6 months just on Jacob and these tribes and what they did and what their prophecy, what Jacob's prophecy, blessing / prophecy actually was when it came to the life of the tribe and what that all meant. I thought it was very interesting. I did look at some of the names and what the names meant and how funny. And it's like, does our names correlate to something? Because, there's no mistakes with God. He knows exactly what he's doing. It shows in this story alone that God has had his hand from the very beginning to all the way to Revelation. He's got his hands involved in all of it. It's not by coincidence these things have come to pass. And they all in the Old Testament pointing to Christ. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Pointing to the Messiah coming and these prophetic words and these prophetic things that God had given these prophets for us to understand how important these things were. They're not to be taken lightly. The one verse, Brother Stedman, that one verse where don't take prophecy, don't contempt with prophecy, don't look at prophecy with contempt, because they're so important to understand God's plan and what he intends to do. And as he opens up Daniel and Revelation to us to understand that more and more and how it correlates right back to the beginning of time. So it's good. And I agree with you, Larry. We could have taken each one of these and did a complete Bible study on them.
Well, I think too, as you go into next week and you do Joseph, I'm not sure if I'll be able to join you guys, but you got quite a bit of information here on the blessing of Joseph, right? And I think a lot of that is going to correlate to what God did through Joseph and sending him into Egypt, right? And blessing the nation of Israel out of him being sold into slavery and then put up, as this high person, and getting them through the plague, or the famines, right, and all of that, and then ultimately, like the reason they were there, right? So if you look at like Genesis,
we're not on Joseph yet.
No, I know. I'm just saying it. But if you guys,
okay.
Is there like a time limit?
Yeah, we're over.
No.
Oh, sorry. So I was just going to say, like as you look at the real reason why God sent them into there was to greatly increase, right, which is in the prophecy. To bless, right, and then they come out of there with all the stuff they need to make a tabernacle and just like infinite amounts of money, and gold and resources and animals and everything, and so it's like God was even doing that. And like what I was going to say was in Genesis 45 and Genesis 50, it further, so it's like the blessings of the Father will prevail, right, in this Joseph blessing. And when you get into these, there's a few verses in those 2 chapters that's like, you think it was you sending me there to his brothers? He's like, it was God.
Right.
He's like, what you intended for evil, God intended for good, right? And then you go back to 45 and he says, it wasn't even you who sent me there, for it was God, right? To preserve a people and bring about a land and all of that stuff. So I think this blessing of Joseph works its way out in the prospering of Israel, even in the land of Egypt and then out of the land of Egypt and later. And God, again, I mentioned that earlier, God did that with, they go off to Babylon takes all their gold, and then some Easterners come back and guess what? They bring gold back to the real Israel as a baby, right? It's just super cool how God does that over and over.
Even like the incense and everything, how that all correlates as well. Like the actual gifts that
Yeah.
they brought, like everything ties in to. It's just beautiful to see, and we don't even know everything. Like we're still digging up and everything, but it's beautiful to see for sure.
Yeah, and then when we look at ourselves as insignificant,
Mm-hmm.
like, no, God did not create you insignificant. He created you in his image, which is very significant. He knows exactly what he's doing from the beginning. And we read it over and over that God's hand was in it all the way through. He never took his hand. If you say, he's got his finger on the pulse all the time. So you can't deny he's got his finger on you and your pulse. His eye never leaves the sparrow. His eye is always on the sparrow, and you are the sparrow. He's got his finger on.
Even that New Jerusalem that we read about in Revelation. I mean, the New Testament attributes you to being a little stone, right? That is being built up into this holy temple, right? Laid on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, and Christ being the cornerstone. So it gives you this picture of this building being built. And then, you maybe a couple thousand years later are these little things that are being plugged into this thing. But in the grand scheme of things,
let me be a stone.
You are, and of course he's talking to Peter. So he's playing off of Peter's name, which means little rock. But,
right.
But in the grand scheme of things, in the end, you see it come out of heaven as this bride, as this fortified city, and beautiful in its splendor, and God's presence is there, and all of that. So I was just feeding off of what you were saying about us not being insignificant. We are all part of this greater tapestry that he's doing. And if we're doing kingdom work, if we're doing kingdom building, whatever that looks like in our lives, it's meaningful. Every moment is meaningful, Yeah.
So, and he's chosen us just like he's chosen all of these tribes, all the people that are in there. It's so important that we understand that these stories are for us to understand and build our confidence up in Christ. That we're not in a low state. We're humble, but we understand the mission that we're all to be on, and make sure that our name is written in the book of life. We read that today, how important that is. And there's no one's going to get into the New Jerusalem without their name written in the book of life. So make sure you're written in the book of life. And if you don't know if you are, then contact us, any of us on here, and we'll help walk you through that and get you started so that you can understand how significant you are in the body of Christ. I hope you enjoyed today's Coffee Time Bible study, and we'll see you next week at 9:00 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be starting Joseph and what happened with Joseph, and what was the prophecy surrounding Joseph, and did they come true or did they not? Can we say that Jacob's prophecies have come true? Yes. Yes, we can. So he was a true prophet. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.